right, welcome everybody to this week's Reap Report. I lied to you last week. I said it was going to be on a Thursday again. Now it's on a Wednesday. I know crazy things, but hopefully this will be the day it's going to be in the future, no matter what. And today I have a special guest. It's me, Lucio Horde, but this time I'm joined by Juicy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Besides my camera misfunctioning, but hey, I'm fine with this.
Hey, look, it's gonna have to work for now, but don't worry, we'll get your beautiful face on camera eventually. But for those of you just tuning in, Reap Report. With this time, we will have a recap, then we'll have a preview. So we're gonna kind of recap what happened there in week one, and then we're gonna preview some week two stuff. There is gonna be a special edition of Reap Report, hopefully tomorrow. That's gonna go over some of the rules changes of this season from last season, but that's going to be a separate thing, and I'll recover. I'll kind of touch on that again towards the end of this report. But Jesse, let's go ahead and get into things with the week one recap. Let's talk
hmm
about AFK Farmers versus Imaginary Bishops. Tell me kind of how this one went.
AFK Farmers, they went 2-0. They took the lead or took the game and set away from Imaginary Bishops.
Mm-hmm.
Game one was a close with some decent team fights. AFK Farmers were, to pull out like a sneaky win, kind of. I was really
Yeah,
surprised by how everything went. Game two, I mean, it was kind of close, but it was shut out really by AFK Farmers in a way. Um, I feel like AFK kind of pushed their way into Vibe and Blizzato. But to be honest, I think they have that synergy kind of.
yeah,
It just looked like everything that the team fighting, everything like whoever was shot calling on this team looked phenomenal. There were some minor hiccups, misplays, or miss out of positions, but to me, it looked really good. For an SDL team, especially the first week too. Um, Yellow Jin as well. It was kind of uneven matchups here and there, but it was okay.
yeah.
Overall, I was really excited too.
Yeah, it was a good set. It was definitely one that, Imaginary Bishops seem to have like sparks of life every once in a while. But AFK Farmers were really able to close this one out with a good old 2-0. And again, I think you highlighted perfectly the ADC and jungle pairing in AFK Farmers, which is not a traditional pairing, right? It's not your
hmm
support ADC, it's not your solo jungle, your mid support. This type of pairing is very interesting. Something that we'll get into when we talk about the preview for next week. But in particular, I do want to shout out Yellow Jin here on Imaginary Bishops who was playing then. And he did all right. Like honestly, there are some matchups that he really shouldn't have won, or he should have just been demolished in on paper. But he held his own throughout the match, so maybe that's like somewhere where they can move forward into
hmm
as Imaginary Bishops. But that's one SDL set. We had another one. We had another one. Feeding Frenzy versus Phoenix. Tell me a little bit about this one.
If I remember correctly, like it was a back and forth kind of game. Feeding Frenzy, we didn't know really too much about him. Phoenix going after like a weird change. I'm sorry, not change. I was Feeding Frenzy. I'm sorry. But I do know like Phoenix did take the 2-0 over Feeding Frenzy. Uh, both rosters were kind of wonky in my opinion. I believe Phoenix had two subs. They weren't the original, original roster. But they still managed to pull the 2-0 set over them, over the Feeding Frenzy. Um, Bonza looked really good in the jungle, in my opinion. Putting up some misplay or not misplays, but really calculated rotations. Really showing his presence across the map.
Mhm.
And Waddle, I mean, Waddle just looked amazing in this set. Played super well on the gods that he played. I mean, I think he went 18-4. Yeah, 18-4 at the end of the set, or I think it was combined set really.
Yeah, the
Um,
combined
but
thing.
it's just overall it looked fantastic. His positioning was there, the rotations, like using his level lead or level advantage, and like I mean, they did everything phenomenal in my opinion.
Yeah, it definitely was. This was one of the more dominant performances from any team this week that we're talking about. Phoenix were really able to pull through despite having those two subs. One of those questions is always when you put in subs, the chemistry is lost, the team
hmm
chemistry is just not there. And usually they're correct. And I will back that up. Usually subs will be a detriment to the chemistry of a team. But when it comes to week one matchups, usually everybody's in the same boat. in terms of their competitive chemistry, right? Like, not everybody has played together. There are very few teams that are a solid core still anymore
Hmm.
in the RSL and the SDL. So having two subs really makes almost no difference outside of maybe one or two, three scrims that he might have had the weeks prior that now you're not don't have going into week one, and that kind of shows here with the way that Phoenix played. And again, feeding frenzy side, Bonza played pretty well considering he definitely put in some heroic efforts in order to kind of bring his team back in. But when you have an ADC going 18-4, I mean it's the door is going to be closed shut pretty
Yep.
quickly. And that's kind of what happened in this one. But the next set that we're going to talk about, the first RSL set of week one, is not one that was a closed door. This was definitely a revolving door of who's going to win this one, what's happening. This is some good Smite, and let's talk a little bit about triple mids versus mind goblins. Break it down for me.
Would you potentially say this was the game of the week? I feel like it.
I feel like
I
it
feel
was,
like it
yeah.
was. I mean, it was back and forth. Mind Goblins 2-1 over Triple Mids. I mean, you can't take anything away from Triple Mids. You know, we like overall everyone's like 3 mids.
Oh, we've had a little bit of a technical difficulty. It's all good. When he gets back to us, he'll be back to us. But in the none, hold on, he's here. He's here. I'm got him. Hey, welcome back, Jesse.
Hi. I apologize. I don't know what happened. That's my
It's
fault.
all good.
But I'm sorry. Where was I? Oh, Triple Mid. Yes. You know, everyone was like, "Where are they gonna put him?" But like overall, I mean, Son of Two Dog looking phenomenal on this Heimdallr. Uh,
Mhm.
you know, I don't. I think it's probably one of his most favorite comfortable gods in that ADC. Um, but you can't take away anything away from Mind Goblins. Dummy looking really good in the jungle. Game two, he went into mid. You know, game two looked like Mind Goblins kind of struggled. They didn't have Spooky. Um, so I don't know if that was the issue. You know, I no discredit from him at all from the jungle. But you know, game three, Dummy went back into jungle, and Mind Goblins looked like what they did in game one. Um,
Yeah.
Overall, me personally, I really overall extremely excited about this game. It was back and forth, you know, but unfortunately, Mind Goblins did take the win over, excuse me, Triple Mids.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, no matter how the set goes, there has to be one winner, right? No
Mm-hmm.
ties in Smite, as far as we know. And my Goblins were able to take the 2-1, and that was due to some really interesting adjustments by Mind Goblins. They were like, hey, let's try out this new roster in game two, and then when that didn't work out, they switched back to the original setup for game three. But no matter what, something like you highlighted, you just can't take away how well Triple Mids were able to play it out. Because it wasn't like game one and three where Mind Goblins were able to win. It was like a shutout game. No,
Mm-hmm.
Triple Mids were in there, especially again, highlighting some of Two Dogs play there on the Heimdallr. They just came up short this one time, but that gives me a little bit of a question mark, maybe an interrobang, one of my favorite things to say, exclamation point and the question mark.
Mm-hmm.
But about where will triple mids end up when it comes to playoff seasons? Like this, Mind Goblin's projected to be the number one seed, right? Most people have
Mm-hmm.
talked about it like it's already guaranteed that Mind Goblin is going to be the best roster. At the very least, they came out with a very strong draft. But triple mid's really kind of put them through the ringer. So is that going to continue? Is triple mid's going to increase from here? Is Mind Goblin's going to stumble? We don't know. We're not here to provide those answers, but it does provide some interesting questions for that playoffs run. Now, the next game, I would prefer if we skip, but we can't really skip it. It's going to be a set from another very strong team and a team that maybe didn't pull up the best. Uh, Monkey Business versus Cursed Cowboys. Break this one down a little bit for me.
Yeah, this was a little rough one. I'm sorry, Lucio, but we have to call it out. Maybe later on the line, you know, we can work out the kinks, which is fine. But you know, Monkey Business did take the 2-0 over the Curse Cowboys. Uh,
Mhm.
Game one, I mean, absolutely dominance performance from Monkey Business. You know, they weren't monkeying around, but you know, they just looked really good. You know, slime back in the not slime. I'm sorry. Uh, I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind here. But game two, Cowboys showed life. They did have like reeling in, progress. Laning phase wasn't as bad.
Mm,
But once start getting to that team fight orientations, they showed life. They looked like they could come back and win the game. Uh, Nick's hell. I mean, it was just solid overall performance. It kind of looked like Variety was over here playing hell, but it was actually Nick. Um,
mhm,
I guess one of the could most likely be potentially the best supports in the league. Who knows? I can't give you that answer. Only Nick can. In the future upcoming games. Um, Sneaky Dreams. We have to talk about Sneaky Dreams. A heroic effort. In the game too. Really try to come out, try to win it, but unfortunately they couldn't get it. But I believe in Curse Cowboys. Just work out the kinks, and we should be good.
yeah, follow the script. You better
Yep.
believe in Cursed Cowboys. But no, in all seriousness, Monkey Business pulled out a really solid 2-0. This has to be one of the more dominant performances as well during the week. Uh, it just felt like, at least in our team, we just couldn't get a footing. And again, Nick's on Hell looked really good. Red Danger looking like one of the better supports in the RSL right now. Again, a little too early to tell and guarantee that's the All Star or whatever, but
Yeah.
definitely was one of the most impactful ones in this week one kind of matchup stuff. And all hats off to Sneaky Dream on our team. Lava God in Discord, but he really did put up a really good game too to try to get us back into the game. Just wasn't quite enough. Something that maybe Cursed Cowboys can grow from, or maybe they really are cursed to be a bottom end team for the rest of the season. I mean, I really hope not. But nonetheless,
Hmm.
monkey business, like you said, we're monkeying around for this one, and they close this one out in 2-0. Let's talk about the next RSL set. It's going to be Bully Busters versus the Bargain Bunch. And how did this get one? How did this one roll out for you?
To me, with the whole situation with the bargain bunch, they kind of it's just a lot of question marks around that team. Bully Busters, on the other hand, I mean, overall solid team. You can't take it away. Eon, the MVP of last season, he's now in the jungle. Bracking was on the same team. I played with all of these players. Overall, great players, people. Um, they did take the 2-0, unfortunately, for the bargain bunch. Just a dominant game overall from the Bully Busters. They just looked like that unit together. I can't take anything from Kaki. I feel like Kaki used his presence alone to shift the whole. Like he controlled the whole game. Eon doing his thing, from solo now in the jungle, showing his pressure, presence everywhere across the map. Overall, just a great game. Two, Bargain Bunch almost came back. Stepdad looking really good on his Loki early on in the game. But once they figured out what Stepdad wanted to do on this Loki, they said, "Nah, you can't be doing this on Loki. We're gonna take you out of the game," and that's exactly what they did. I was hoping they would force a game three, but that wasn't enough. In the gas tank. We gotta highlight the AMC. How long has it
Yeah.
been since we've seen AMC since season 6?
Oh
Maybe
man, I don't know,
when
man.
AMC was in mid.
AFC.
But
Look, I played a lot of ADC. And
mm-hmm,
one of the first things I would tell my teams, I'd be like, I'm not playing that trash god. But
yeah.
Bracking gonna do it.
Yeah, I mean, Bracking did an 8-0 on AMC, especially with that in ADC. But they took away. Eon had Fenrir, so Bracking was safe. But unfortunately, we have to give it to Bracky on this one for sure.
Yeah, 8-0 on the AMC. It's definitely a highlight. Look, if anything of the whole week was the number one highlight for me, 8-0 on AMC. Look, it's not even the 8 that kills me. It's not even the 8 that I'm like, wow, that's cool. No, it's that goose egg in the death column as one of the most immobile guys in the game. I'm like, you know what? Hats off to the Bully Busters for being able to pull that off. But I think you highlighted it really well. Bargain Bunch still put up a good fight. Maybe not in game one. Game one was very much a shutout by the Bully Busters that kind of didn't let Bargain Bunch even get their footing. But
Mm-hmm.
game two, Bargain Bunch had some really good rally team fights that kind of brought them back into the game when it all seemed lost. It was really kind of one of those moments where you're like, you're watching it as a fan, you're like, let's go, Bargain Bunch. Just not enough. It was a little bit too little, too late. Um, and they weren't able to get that game three that you wanted, that I'm sure a lot of viewers wanted.
Yep.
But important to highlight here is Bargain Bunch are still suffering a little bit from roster apocalypse. So, considering that they were able to do as well as they did against one of the upper end teams or projected upper end teams, not a bad place to be at if I'm the bargain budge. Not the best, but definitely not the worst, at least in my opinion.
Hmm.
So let's bring it down to the last SDL set of the week, and it was Daddy Daycare versus Nacho Supremos. Daddy Daycare takes this one 2-0. What did you see? What did you not see that you might have wanted to see?
You know, as you said, you know, Daddy Daycare took the 2-0 over them. Uh, Daddy Daycare, you know, great team. I know Bearded overall, great guy. Uh, so I'm wondering, my most important attention was coming out of mid. You know, Afro just wanted to see what they can do. You know, this was like I think almost broke Bearded's wallet. This is what people were saying around, but surprisingly, it was a hard fought set. It was a game to watch. Also, I don't know if people know, but Spectral is in the game. I need people to start building Spectral and Crit. It would stop any progression on Crit overall. Um, I think we have to talk about Die.
Mm-hmm.
Die got the first quadra kill of you know, their first week in the set. Not overall, not in lane, not by T1, not by Gold Furry, but by T2. You know, that's something by a tower siege at that. You know, which is just you know, mind gasp at his own. In reality, the set came down to Daddy Daycare being able to coordinate, manage the team fights so much more, in my opinion, better than Nacho Supremos. I feel like if Nachos could get, you know, work out the kinks, practice together, get more sets, scrims, just build up that team synergy. I feel like this team could bounce back in reality.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the perfect way to talk about it. Nacho Supremos did look good at times,
Mm-hmm.
right? But not all the time. And when they didn't look good, they didn't look okay. They looked lost in a lot of ways, and that's okay. It's week one. You know that's
Mm-hmm.
gonna happen. Hey, you can look at my team, Chris Cowboys, same situation, right? You looked good for like 10 minutes total, but then you look lost. And that's something that you can work through. But I remember casting this game, and it was just such a surprise for me when Dive Islandly has that crit build, no penetration, and there's just
Mm-hmm.
no spectrals on Nacho Supremo side. And that means that he's just going through them, like a scythe through wheat. He's just cutting them down.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happens around that tier 2 Sour Siege. But I do want to highlight again that Nacho Supremos looked good at points, and they looked really good. And so if they can focus on making sure that that elongates throughout the set, this could go the other way very easily for me. This wasn't like this was weird because it was a shutout, but it didn't feel like a shutout. It felt like Nacho
Mm-hmm.
Supremos at times were really rallying around, were able to find some relief, just not able to find that win. So nonetheless, that's all right. We're gonna move on to the next kind of nail biter set. Okay, this is I casted this set as well. And it's just woo. But I'm gonna let you talk a little bit about it. It's Hell's Minions versus the Wingers, 2-1 in favor of Hell's Minions. But tell me a little bit about it, what you saw.
Listen, I'm gonna be honest. When you're casting a set, Lucio, I get so hyped, and you do a phenomenal job for this Hell's Minions versus the Wingers. Hell's Minions took the 2-1 over the Wingers. Unfortunately, I think it's one of the clutchest games victories in RSL history. Really, in my opinion, it was just so back and forth, especially with Kyber and Skipper going at it in the ADC. I think overall, like all the guys that were played in the ADC roles, it went back and forth in my opinion. Um, Skipper looked like how do you say ADC renew, you know, as you put it. Moving away from Cupid, which I really like. Me personally, I feel like yeah, Cupid's good in some situations, but you know, I feel like their team comp wouldn't really fit the Cupid, in my opinion. ADC lanes were popping off. It was like a slugfest from minute one, really. They were just going at it all the way to mid, especially into the late game.
Mm-hmm.
Importantly, you know, the wingers actively, you know, they're kind of experiencing an early roster apocalypse. I don't like to use that word roster apocalypse because it's just, you know, it's a new season. How are you already going through it, you know? But I'm hoping, you know, the wingers they get, you know, a solid foundation of players group build that team synergy, play it together, and like hopefully the Wingers can bounce back from this, terrible roster apocalypse.
Yeah, and this is another one of those teams that, despite that roster apocalypse, they looked good. Like
Hmm.
again, game one was a clutch win from Hell's Minions, but it wasn't necessarily like a, how do you say, a win that they kind of developed. It was a win that they fell into after a really spectacular defense around that Titan and
Yep.
being able to push that all the way back into the enemy Titan and win the game. But for all intents and purposes, the wingers, like I even said it on cast, and I'll say it again, they were at 99% of the win. The 1% happened and Hell's Minions ran with it. And they took it for game one. Game two, it went the other way towards the wingers. And then game three, Hell's Minions were able to put a period on that one and say it's all ours for now. But this was one active set. This was one of those like sets to watch. There's just a lot of fun, a lot of highlightable moments. Skipper and Kai were going at it in that ADC role. Not a typical lane that you find so much fighting, so many solo kills, but that's definitely where it was. And I mean that was honestly one of the best sets to wrap up that week, and that is the end of the week one review. We're gonna have to move into the preview of week two, and we're gonna start off with an SDL set that should be happening today. It might end up happening. It might end up being streamed tomorrow. We'll keep you guys updated on that one. But let's talk about Imaginary Bishops versus Gilgamesh Incoming. How did we vote as a casting crew? And then tell me kind of like what we're highlighting over there.
I believe the casting crew took this one 8-0, going towards Gilgamesh Incoming. Um, Unfortunately, Gilgamesh Incoming. I believe it'll be. I say overall, we all agreed that it was going to be a three-set game. Gilgamesh has coming like some role switches coming up. I believe they'll. Or I think some of us also agree that we believe this will be a solid team. Coming up. Um, Imaginary Bishops could exploit like some roster changes coming out from Gilgamesh Incoming. Another thing you have to come from like Gilgamesh is coming from a bye week, so they're not running hot. They don't have any, I guess, like comp experience yet into the season, so like they don't know what it's like to be, on the spotlight or on the highlight. So they could be a little bit rustier. Who knows? But excuse me, this could be in favor of Imaginary Bishops, considering an 8-0 or unanimous decisions going for Gilgamesh. But who knows? We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those votes, one of the very rare unanimous votes, but it's not one that we took lightly. It's not one that we just simply said, "Oh yeah, Gilgamesh Incoming 100% win this." Like most of us came down to that 50 plus 1% vote, and it really comes down to that Gilgamesh Incoming has a really solid group of foundational players, and Imaginary Bishops look like they're still trying to find their footing on what roster they want to run, how they want to run it,
Hmm.
what's their strategy, what's their win condition. In this set, they might be able to take advantage of some of Gilgamesh Incoming's roster changes, but also the fact that, like you said, Gilgamesh Incoming not really coming off a hot week. Now, to be fair, neither is Imaginary Bishops in this case, but Imaginary Bishops might be coming in with a chip on their shoulder that might give them a win here early on in the season. But the next set that we're going to talk about is another SDL set. It's going to be Daddy Daycare versus Phoenix. How did the casters break this one down? What are some thoughts that you guys had?
Uh, you know, I, it's always interesting to see what everyone's opinions are. You always want to listen to insights and high sights. I believe we did. Oh, I'm sorry, I lost my footing. I do apologize. We believe as casters it was a 5-2 in favor of Daddy Daycare over Phoenix. This one I feel like could really be a coin flip in hindsight. Both teams coming off a win from last week. Daddy Decker was the only team to pull off like an actual win with their full roster, their full team. The original roster.
Hmm.
It's really gonna be interesting to see where Phoenix can return. If they're gonna have their subs, or are they gonna move some of their subs into the starting rosters, or is it gonna be like the actual team from week one? Excuse me. Daddy Daycare, they didn't look particularly strong, but they have some good team fights. So if they can get their laning phase worked out, and rotating into that mid game where they're doing that team fight, I feel like they could really this could determine the set. if Daddy Day can work out those those early game issues and solidify it. But again, we did do a 5-2 in Daddy Daycare's favor.
Yeah, and again, this is not one of the like even though it is in favor of Daddy Daycare, it's not one of those overwhelming like, oh my god, Daddy Daycare 100% wins this. It is really comes down to a lot of the votes were really, hey, Daddy Daycare played with their roster. They'll probably play with their roster again. They were able to win
Hmm.
with that roster. We don't know what Phoenix is going to run for this set in terms of are they going to return to the same subs? Are they going to run a different roster? Are they going to go to different subs? All of those things can change how this set might go out. For all we know, really, in reality, Phoenix could win.
Yep.
Uh, but we just don't know what the full length of their team is going to be going into this Daddy Daycare squad that has a victory under their belt as a full five.
Hmm.
That's really where that vote comes in from, and we'll have to see how that set breaks down, what Phoenix can bring to the table. Because again, Daddy Daycare didn't really look increase like how do you say substantially dominant in their set last week. It just looked dominant enough, and
Yep.
that's where we came down to. But we're gonna talk about the first RSL set, and it's gonna be again Cursed Cowboys versus the Wingers. How did we vote on this? To give me some thoughts, and then maybe I'll give a few ideas that I have from a player's perspective.
Yeah, again, Lucio's team, right? The hype man. Oh, I'm just kidding. I think in favor we did a 5-1 for in favor of Carriage Cowboys. And on honesty, I think it was just coming down to I think if everyone can iron out again their mistakes, get the team better. Both teams are, and again, an unfortunate roster apocalypse, and especially in this early of the season, it's just really, I guess you could say, the Wingers are more in a desperate situation, in the roster apocalypse. But Cowboys will, I think, debuting a new carry. This is what we've heard. We don't know. The Wingers might run an entirely different roster from week one. There could be a lot of changes coming around, seeing where who knows if the Wingers can pull it off. Uh, both teams, again, there's winners and losers, but both these teams did take a loss in the first week, so I'm pretty sure this one's going to be a gritty fight, like an uphill battle for both teams because they definitely want to get a win. You definitely don't want to go 0-2, especially. It's not too bad to go 0-2, but just in the end, you definitely want to get the solidify it out, whatever. This might motivate them to like actually, get the win again, like iron out the kinks and play
Yeah.
as play better. I feel like overall this could be a really interesting game. I'm not counting out anybody. Don't listen to like the 5-1 for the winger. If you're any winger fans, you definitely want to root for the team that you want to support. But in my opinion, I feel like the Cursed Cowboys have more synergy coming out for the wingers.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how the set rolls out. That one's going to be tomorrow for those of you wondering when it's going to be played out. But both teams suffering a little bit from some roster apocalypse, from some loss of players. And then the Cowboys really they only lost to carry. We had a sub on already on the roster. So
Hmm.
hopefully we can just fill out that slot. I can't provide any roster leaks here. I'm contractually obligated not to, even though it's my own team. I guess I made my own contract. I guess I could also erase it. But nonetheless, it doesn't matter. Really, I think that the wingers looked particularly strong. This is definitely not going to be a pushover type matchup. I think it's like you said, it's going to be hard fought and hard won no matter who comes out on top at the end of the day because both teams are really looking for those wins. The wingers, they could try the same strat they worked out last week with the subs that they ran. They could try out a different strat. So it even makes it harder for us as Cursed Cowboys to really prepare for their team because we only know about two to three of their players on what they're going to play, where they're going to play, why they're going to play. So it's going to be really
Hmm.
interesting to see how we end up matching up against them again. Tune in for that one tomorrow. It's going to be an exciting set no matter what. Hopefully, I won't go 0-14, I've been told, or whatever I did last week. This time, I'm going to go 0-15. I'm going to pump those rookie numbers up. Nonetheless, we're going to move up to the next RSL set. Bully Busters versus Triple Mids. I'm excited for this set. I'm already going to put that one out there. That's also tomorrow. So tomorrow's an action-packed day that you guys should all tune into. Tell me how
Hmm.
we broke this one down.
I believe again, this is our prediction. We could all be wrong. We do like to have hypotheses up here on the casting. But in favor, we gave this one to triple mids. 4-2. Again, it's just predictions. Don't take it seriously. Bully Busters could come out swinging with the 2-0 dominance, but this could be one of the close games. Triple mids. I feel like they're gonna have a chip on their shoulders. Over that gruesome loss they took in week one. I feel like again, Son of Two Dog and Bracking. I want to see what they can do in that ADC lane. Bracken looking hot on the AMC 8-0, but Son of Two Dog looking really good on Heimdallr. Bully Busters are going to have their full roster. Aries is coming back into that. So I wouldn't say coming back, but she's returning. They are returning to the solo lane. Kaki's not going to be there. So I feel like they're going to have a more. They could have a more dominance in this game. But again, I feel like triple mids also have the potential to take this to a game three. That's just my opinion or my prediction. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is gonna be a close game. I honestly, the votes don't do it justice. 4-2, don't do it justice. It's really a 3-3 vote. Everybody was kind of like, ooh, triple mids could win, but so could Bully Busters. We're just gonna go ahead and put our votes. We discussed it for like 10, 15 minutes. It was a long discussion. We were just like, all right, let's just vote, see what happens. Again, the question's really gonna be, will Son of Two Dog break 5K player damage, and that's really gonna be the determining
Hmm.
the determining of whether or not who's gonna win. I feel like if whoever hits 5K and 1 damage first, they're gonna
Yeah.
win. That's my prediction. And you know what? Somebody when they watch that game tomorrow, keep track. Be like, yo, they hit 5K or one before the other one, and they lost. Then you can call me out. I'll eat like 2 apples instead of the normal one. Doesn't
Hmm.
matter. I think that this is going to be super super exciting. It's just such a good matchup for both teams, really to kind of early in the season determine how they match up against each other. Because I think this is a very reasonably going to be a playoffs matchup. I can already determine that now. I wrote the script. Remember that, guys. So we'll have to see. And I want to see how Aries does in this solo lane, mainly because they'll be an opponent for me later on in the season. But also,
Yep.
now that Bully Busters can play with their full roster, I want to see how that goes down. But let's move on to the next RSL set. We actually have quite a few RSL sets. It's gonna be the first one's gonna be Bargain Bunch versus Clearly Hacking.
Hmm.
Tell me about this one.
Bargain Bunch did take the unfortunate loss, but at the same time, clearly hacking. They had a first bye week. So again, they could be rusty. They could just not be set in. But I think we did a 3-1 in favor of clearly hacking. Apparently, I mean, I don't know, but I feel like I could be the starting jungle. I don't know. I don't know. But on this team, no bias. But again, it feels like these teams could rely on their sub picks. I feel like it could really go in either way, in my opinion. I feel like game one is gonna set the tone of this set. Because excuse me, I feel like it will be the mental pace for both teams. It's just really a determining factor on that one. Additionally, clearly hacking, you can't take it away. Mask and Amish back again in that duo lane. They had the All Stars of Champions from last season. And then I believe it's Loshak from the SDL. Now he's in the solo lane for this team. So again, another All Star champion, in my opinion. This team looks stacked, but again, can they work together? Yeah, who knows? You just have to wait and see. But in my opinion, I feel like this team could potentially be up there. That's just my opinion. But at the same time, can they get it down? Can they, get the egos out of the way and work together?
Yeah, this is a clearly hacking is just a star-studded team. There's no way to go around it. This is a team that has a lot of talent on
Hmm.
it. Bargain Bunch has a lot of people who have the potential to reach that level of talent, but also they all have that really good chemistry with each other. that might be that edge that they might need in order to kind of win over Clearly Hacking. Clearly Hacking just have such a good core already that for me early in the season it's just hard for me to see how Bargain Bunch wins against Clearly Hacking now. It could
Hmm.
be down to that first game, right? If for the first game Bargain Bunch are able to close out and close the door on Clearly Hacking, that's going to be a superb morale boost that might push them to that stardom essentially in terms of play. It also might be a morale detriment to Clearly Hacking because they might be thinking in the back of their heads, this is a team we need to beat. This is a team that we
Yep.
should beat, that we already have beat, essentially in our minds. And then losing that first game might be able to determine the set no matter what. Um, I just think that no, it's still going to be hard for Bargain Bunch, and it not only that, there's a further complication, something that we've touched on a lot already, considering other teams. But it really comes down to the sub pickup. Both teams need one sub. All right.
Hmm.
It's going to come down to what influence that sub will have on the whole team. Are they going to use this in Barton Bunch's case? Are they going to use the same sub from last week, or is clearly and then for Clearly Hacking's case, what's there going to be their sub going to be? Clearly Hacking had a bye week as well, so they might not come in full engines. Man, they might come in a little bit slow to start. Got that low acceleration, high top speed. So we'll have to see how that goes for them. Let's talk about the next matchup. And this one, all right.
Yep.
This has got to be the match of the week. Period. Like it
Yep.
just has to be because this could be a finals pairing based on where we're at right now. I know, very premature to say, but I gotta say controversial stuff to boost up ratings. I've been told by my boss, and my boss is me. So, well, I told myself. Anyway, Mind Goblins versus Monkey Business. This one was an intense vote. Tell us how we talked about it. Tell me what was said.
I feel like we talked about this game for like at least 30 minutes. It felt like it. You know, Mind Goblins and Monkey Business. I believe it's a split vote, 2-2. We all of us as casters, you know, we project these teams to be the top two teams coming into the season. And you know, and they're facing each other really early off in the season. So like, who knows? I wish this game was like later in the season so I could see, but unfortunately, they're gonna get right into it in the beginning. Um, it's a story jungler face off, really. I mean, Dummy and Slime, uh, really number one, number two from last season. They were considered the jungles of previous seasons. I feel like they both bring something to the table, no matter what pick. You know, Dummy can get really aggressive. Sometimes he doesn't get punished for it, but Slime just looks like he can set up for the team, but he's still doing jungler things. So I mean, I don't know. Both these people are really great guys. This should be probably the closest set of the week, really. A good, I want to say, a good possibility going to a game three.
Mm,
Um, you know, again, both teams show different roster setups first week, so there's like a huge question mark lingering on both teams. Who's going to be, I guess, the final, you know, set in roster, and how they'll adjust, you know, as the week or as the game go on. Um, maybe during the game and in future. But overall, I mean, I feel like this game is going to be action packed. It's going to be gritty. It's going to be gruesome. It's going to be long. I hope not, but it's just going to be fun overall.
yeah, I mean, this is again top two projected teams facing off against each other right now. Early on in the season makes for a lot of excitement. The jungle face-off is one that was already kind of intense last season. It's going to keep continuing into this season. Let's see if those adjustments, the team adjustments that they both junglers have made, whether or not it will change the outcome, change how they faced off against each other before, change the outcome of those face-offs. Uh, I think that this is going to go to a game three. I really hope it doesn't because I'm going to be
Hmm.
casting it, and that means it's going to be long, and my voice is going to be hoarse, and it's going to be all this type of stuff. But nonetheless, I hope if it does go to a game three, that means it must be exciting. That means that people should be watching because I'm going to tell you, this is one of those games that there could be adjustments in the middle of the game. You could be like, oh, wait, W's playing mid now? I guess the story jungling match off is not going to happen. Oh,
Yep.
wait, Ozma's out for this game. We're going to actually put Gumbo back in, or we're going to take Gumbo out. There's all these different roster changes that both teams could make before the set starts and then during the set that can really change the pace of the game. And already that creates for some intense competitive ferocity between these two teams. And I'm this for me again, number one set to watch, number one set to cast. I mean, this might be one of those that you're gonna feel bad when you miss it.
Mhm.
Nonetheless, we're gonna move to the last set of the week. That was the last RSL set. We're gonna move to the last SDL set of week 2. It's gonna be Nachos Supremos versus AFK Farmers. Tell me how we broke this one down.
Yeah, we took a lot of consideration on this SDL team. You know, AFK Farmers struggled, but Nacho Supremos also struggled. We did a 4-2 in favor of AFK Farmers. Again, Nacho Supremos has shown the ability. They know how to play at a high level, uh, but they're not as consistent yet. You know, I guess the blood is boiling too hot, but they can't control the blood rush. You know, but if they can get that under control, I feel like Nacho Supremos could, potentially take this away from the farmers. Excuse me. The farmers, on the other hand, have a strong, very, very strong jungler and a very strong ADC, which gives them a lot of versatility in winning this game. I feel like Vibe could either leave Ozato on ADC island, do what he needs to do, and Vibe just rotates in the solo and put pressure in mid, or just show like presence alone. I- It's just gonna be really good to see what these two players, or actually the whole team, can do. I just don't want it to be these two players. I want to see the whole team. Um, Not just Supremos, on the other hand, they struggle to find their footing in those same roles. Sometimes their jungler looks weak, but sometimes the jungler also has some really nice plays. The ADC as well. They look like they know what they're doing, but they struggled into like finding their footing, the positioning. But still, Nacho Supremos can carry their their game 10 minutes across the. I mean, even the 20 to 30, they might be able to shut out the AFK farmers. But we'll just have to wait and see until the game's played.
Yeah, I mean, not just Supremos again have shown flashes of greatness, but it's got to be longer than a flash. All right, it's got to be a full on bang. It's got to be the flash and the bang in order
Hmm.
for me to really want to say that that Nacho Supremos will have the advantage here. I mean, as long as they can condense their aggression and kind of constructively orientate it towards those objectives, towards those team fights, and towards winning the game at that 20-30 minute mark, not just Supremos are going to be struggling against a team like AFK Farmers, particularly because AFK Farmers have such a strong jungle and ADC right now that gives them so much mutability in the way that they can even approach the game. Like you said, the jungler could go out to the solo lane and just leave the ADC on an island, or he could come help the ADC and just run the game from there with an ADC who's 3-4 levels ahead of their counterparts. So it really is a question on, can Nacho Supremos kind of become consistent in that game winning play that they've done before, or will they falter under the pressure of AFK Farmers who seemingly have found their win condition already? Now, that wraps up this segment of the Reap Report. And in fact, it'll pretty much wrap up the Reap Report. But before I close things out, I do want to highlight that tomorrow there will most likely be another Reap Report. This one's going to concern simply rules changes that have been made between the seasons, between season 4 and season 5. I'll be running through those rules down just so that everybody's clear on what's changed, what hasn't. If anybody have any questions, I'll be here to answer them. In addition, we will try to have the Reap Report in general, either on Wednesday or on Thursday. I'll try to set out a little bit of an announcement on when we do those ahead of time. And then otherwise, I mean, if you're interested in casting or streaming, hit me, Rosie, or Vile up, or Spooky as well on any of the, if you have any questions regarding that. Otherwise, this has been Lucio. I've been joined by Juicy, thankfully, and been hosted by Rosie, even more gratefully. So that'll
Hmm.
close things out. Have a great evening, everybody. Stay tuned for some